14 years. That's how long I gave this company. My loyalty, my weekends, my health. And when the new owner called me into his office, I thought it was to thank me. He smiled, shook my hand and said, "We've reviewed your position, Sarai. I'm afraid we can't justify your current salary. The offer's a 40% reduction. Take it or leave it." I stared at him, words caught in my throat. 40%. I repeated. "Yes," he said calmly. "It's either that or your replacement starts next month." For a moment I couldn't even breathe. 14 years gone in a sentence. I stood up, slid my resignation letter across the desk and said, "You just fired the only person who knew how to save this place." And I was right. Because 3 months later, his empire would collapse. 14 years. That's how long I gave this company. I was there before the logo redesigns, before the expansion, before the world even knew our name. I trained 3 generations of hires, fixed client messes at midnight, even worked through the flu. People used to joke, if Sarai leaves, the place collapses. Turns out they weren't wrong. The morning everything changed, the office looked different. The old CEO's family portraits were gone, replaced by sleek silver frames and fake smiles. New management, Hale Group, had officially taken over. They promised innovation and efficiency. When my phone rang and the screen read Marcus Hale. So my heart fluttered. Maybe he wanted to discuss the transition. I smoothed my blazer, grabbed my notepad, and walked to his glass-walled office. He didn't even look up when I entered. "Sit down," he said, scrolling through something on his tablet. The air smelled of cologne and cold ambition. After a long pause, he looked up and smiled, the kind of smile that didn't reach his eyes. 14 years, he said. "That's impressive. You've built quite a reputation here." "Thank you," I said softly. "I'm excited to help with the handover." He leaned back, steepling his fingers. "Well, about that." He turned the tablet toward me. My salary, benefits, title, highlighted in red. "We're restructuring compensation. To align with new budgets, your role will now be compensated at 60% of the previous rate." Blinked. "I'm sorry, 60. He nodded casually. 40% reduction. The market's changed. I let out a shaky laugh. "Marcus, I've trained every manager in this department. You're cutting my pay almost in half." He shrugged. "Take it or leave it. Loyalty's admirable, but we're a new company now." The silence felt heavy, humming like an electrical current. I could hear the air conditioner clicking, my own heartbeat echoing. 14 years, and that was my thank you. I stood slowly, gathering my folder. "You know," I said, voice trembling but steady, "my father used to say you can't buy loyalty, you earn it." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "I'm not trying to buy it." "Exactly," I said, sliding a letter across his desk. "Because you just lost it." He picked up the envelope, frowning. "What's this?" "My resignation." He smirked. "You'll regret that, Sarai. People like you don't last long without structure." I smiled faintly. "Then I'll build my own." When I left his office, the hallway felt endless. Co-workers whispering, glancing away. My best friend Luis rushed over. "Tell me that didn't just happen." "It did," I said. 14 years erased in 14 minutes. He clenched his jaw. "They can't do that to you." "They already did." That night I packed my desk into 2 cardboard boxes. Each photo, each sticky note, felt like a goodbye to a version of myself that had believed loyalty guaranteed safety. As I turned off the lights for the last time, I whispered, "You'll regret this, Marcus Hale." And deep down I knew he would. Because I'd just taken with me the one thing no contract could replace. Everything I'd built. The morning after I resigned, my inbox exploded. Half of the messages were from coworkers, half from HR. Subject lines like immediate exit protocol, confidential, transition of duties, and please schedule exit interview. I wasn't even surprised. After 14 years, loyalty doesn't end with a handshake. It ends with paperwork. When I arrived at the office to return my keycard, my desk was already cleared. Someone else's nameplate sat there. HR manager Clara met me at the door with a fake smile. "Hi, Sarai. We've expedited your transition." "Meaning what?" She slid a form across the table. "We're finalizing your severance. You'll need to sign this non-disclosure agreement." I scanned the document. Standard HR jargon until one line stopped me cold. Employee agrees not to disclose any financial irregularities or internal restructuring details. I looked up. What financial irregularities? Clara's expression didn't flinch. Just standard language. "No," I said slowly. "This isn't standard." She shifted uncomfortably. "Sarai, please. It's just to protect both sides." I leaned forward. "Protect who?" For the first time her eyes faltered. "Marcus requested this clause personally." That was my first red flag. I stood up, sliding the papers back. "I'll have my lawyer look at it." Clara's voice dropped. "If you don't sign, you forfeit your bonus." "Then keep it," I said. "I'm done signing blind." As I left, Luis caught up to me in the parking lot. His face was pale. "Don't go back in there," he whispered. "They're saying you breached company data." My stomach dropped. "What?" "They're blaming you for missing invoices and deleted files." Marcus told the board it happened before he arrived. That's when it clicked. The financial irregularities line in the NDA. "Luis," I said, gripping his arm. "You know me. I never touched company files." "I know," he said. "But they're building a story, and you're the villain." I drove home shaking. Betrayal from a boss was one thing, but being framed for his mess? That was war. That night, I opened my personal drive. Backups of years of financial reports I'd kept for audits. Something was off. Whole folders had vanished. And then I noticed it. One shared document still open. User Marcus, Hale. Last edited, yesterday. He was accessing my work remotely. That's when I realized this wasn't about money. It was about control, and he wasn't done with me yet. I didn't sleep that night. The more I thought about the deleted files, the more the pieces fit together. Marcus wasn't cutting costs. He was covering tracks. The next morning I called Luis. "Meet me at Cafe Marina," I said. "Bring your laptop." When we met, I slid my flash drive across the table. "These are old reports, real ones. Compare them to what's in the company system now." He opened the files, scrolling quickly. His eyes widened. "Holy crap, Sarai. These numbers don't match." He reissued invoices under his own holding company. I leaned in. "He's stealing profits." Luis nodded slowly. "Looks like it. The old CEO's contracts, all reassigned to Hale Group." Anger burned in my chest. "He's laundering revenue through fake subsidiaries." Luis whispered. "Be careful. If he finds out you're looking into this, he'll bury you." But I couldn't stop. Over the next week I pieced it all together. Old audits, payment records, altered transaction logs. Every file told the same story. Marcus was moving millions behind the board's back. Then came the breaking point. One of my old contacts in accounting, Jenna, called me late at night. Her voice was shaking. "Sarai, they're saying you're the leak. Marcus is preparing a lawsuit." "What?" "He's claiming you downloaded company data after quitting. He has a timestamp from your computer." "That's impossible. I wiped everything." "I know," she said. "But someone's editing your access logs." The realization hit me like ice water. Marcus wasn't just trying to erase me from the company. He was trying to turn me into his scapegoat. "Jenna," I said, "can you send me copies of those access records?" "I'll try," she whispered. "But if they catch me..." The call ended. That night, I stared at my laptop screen, the blue light flickering like a silent witness. Marcus Hale thought he could destroy me quietly. But he didn't know me. I built that company. I knew its systems, its secrets, its weaknesses. If he wanted a war, he'd just started one. The letter came on a Friday morning. Notice of legal action. Marcus's company was suing me for data theft, defamation, and breach of confidentiality. The irony almost made me laugh, if it hadn't made me sick first. The document claimed I'd stolen private client files and caused irreparable damage to Hale Group's reputation. Called Luis immediately. "They can't be serious," he said. "He's framing you to protect himself." "Yeah," I whispered. "And he's good at it." Within hours, my name hit the rumor mill. Former co-workers unfriended me. Clients stopped responding. Recruiters ghosted me. Marcus didn't just want to fire me. He wanted to erase me. That evening my phone buzzed. A number I didn't recognize. "Hello." A woman's calm voice. "Is this Sarai?" "My name is Rachel Kim. I'm a labor attorney. Luis referred you." Rachel met me that night at a quiet diner. She listened as I explained everything. The forged invoices, the fake lawsuit, the missing files. She nodded. "Classic retaliation. He's panicking. That means you're closer to the truth than he wants." I blinked. "So what do we do?" "We build a counter case," she said. "We'll need your old email archives, payroll logs, and..." I paused. "Wait. You said he was editing your computer remotely." "Yes." She smiled. "Perfect. That's illegal. Let's catch him in the act." Over the next few days, she installed a trace monitor on my account. 2 nights later, the alert pinged. "Unauthorized login. Marcus Hale at Hale Group." Rachel grinned. "Got him." That same week, Jenna sent me an encrypted drive. "Here," her message said. "Proof he forged everything. Don't contact me again." When I opened it, my heart stopped. Inside were scanned letters signed by Marcus, approving the fake invoices, and one chilling memo to his CFO. "Shift all blame to former staff. Use Carter as scapegoat." I stared at the signature. It wasn't my name, but it might as well have been my death warrant. The first time Rachel walked into the state investigator's office, I realized she wasn't just a lawyer. She was a storm in heels. She spread the files across the table like a deck of cards. "Embezzlement, forgery, retaliation, and cybercrime," she said calmly. "All orchestrated by Marcus Hale." The investigator, Agent Rivera, skimmed the documents. "And your proof?" Rachel smiled. "Everything's time-stamped. Here's the access log, showing Hale editing my client's computer from his IP address. Here's the memo authorizing invoice rerouting. And here..." She dropped one last file. "Our voice recordings." He raised an eyebrow. "Voice recordings." Rachel nodded. "From company calls." He bragged about firing the old guard to cover his tracks. Rivera leaned back. "You realize if this checks out, he's going to prison." "I'm counting on it," Rachel said. The investigation began immediately. Marcus's offices were raided within a week. Computers seized. Counts frozen. Employees questioned. Luis texted me a single line. "You should see his face right now." For the first time in months, I smiled. A week later, Rivera called. "We verified your evidence. Hale Group has been falsifying records for 2 years. You saved a lot of people, Sarai." I closed my eyes, tears stinging. Then maybe those 14 years meant something after all. But the victory wasn't complete. Marcus's legal team tried one last desperate move, claiming I was the instigator, the whistleblower out for revenge. Rachel handled it flawlessly. She stood in court and said, "Revenge is when you destroy someone. Justice is when you expose the truth." The judge nodded slowly. "Proceed." By the end of that day, Marcus's empire was collapsing. Investors pulled out, board members resigned, and his name was everywhere. In headlines, in shame. But for me, the best part wasn't revenge. It was silence, the kind that follows when you've done the right thing, even when it cost you everything. The story broke on a Tuesday morning. I was making coffee when my phone buzzed nonstop. Messages, missed calls, and a headline that nearly made me spill my mug. CEO of Hale Group under investigation for multi-million-dollar fraud. Froze. There it was, Marcus Hale's smiling photo splashed across every news outlet. The man who told me I wasn't worth my salary was now worth nothing but shame. My phone lit up with texts from old co-workers. You were right. He's finished. They're saying you exposed him. For the first time I didn't correct anyone. 'Cause maybe I had. Later that day, Agent Rivera called. We're moving fast, he said. Your testimony made the difference. The board wants to cooperate. They've realized Hale tricked them too. Does that mean I'm clear? I asked quietly. Not just clear, he said. You're the reason they still have a company to rebuild. When I hung up, I just sat there, staring at my reflection in the window. The woman who'd left broken months ago now looked calm, steady. But not everyone was happy. That night my voicemail pinged Marcus's voice. Cold. Controlled. You think you won, Sarai? You ruined my career. I'll make sure you never work again. For a second, fear fluttered in my chest, then faded. Because for the first time his words had no power. The next morning I met Rachel and Luis for coffee. Luis grinned. You're trending, you know that? I rolled my eyes. That's not exactly the fame I wanted. Rachel chuckled. Enjoy it. You did what most people never dare to, stood up to power. Luis leaned closer. You know what's ironic? His office looks like a crime scene now. Agents everywhere. They found hidden drives, offshore accounts. He was stealing from everyone. Exhaled. 14 years I gave him everything. Turns out, he was stealing even before I resigned. Rachel smiled softly. That's how predators operate. They count on your silence. I stared out the cafe window as the rain began to fall. Silence. That's what I'd lived in for too long. Not anymore. The investigation wrapped up 6 months later. Marcus Hale was indicted on 7 counts: fraud, embezzlement, and employee retaliation. Every major business journal covered it, calling it the fastest corporate fall of the year. And me. I was still standing. For the first time in years, I didn't wake up to alarms or deadlines. I woke up to peace. Took me time to find work again. The stigma of being a whistleblower wasn't easy to shake. But Luis and Rachel refused to let me fade. Rachel connected me with a consulting agency. Small firm, she said. They need someone who understands real management, not corporate puppets. My first meeting felt strange. I wasn't just an employee anymore. I was an advisor. They treated me with respect. Listened. Took notes. I realized I had more to offer than I'd ever known. The company grew fast. Within 3 months I was leading projects again, but this time on my terms. One afternoon I got an unexpected email. Subject: Invitation to speak. Business Ethics Conference 2026. They wanted me to share my story. My heart skipped. Why me? Asked Rachel. Because you lived it, she said. People need to hear what happens when integrity meets greed. That night I wrote my speech. It wasn't about revenge or pain. It was about rebuilding. When the day came, I stood on stage, lights bright in my eyes. The audience was silent. I told them everything: the betrayal, the fear, the strength it took to start again. And when I finished, the room erupted in applause. Later, a young woman approached me. I was about to quit my job, she said. You just reminded me why I started. Her words hit harder than any victory. I realized something powerful that day. I hadn't just survived Marcus Hale. I'd outgrown him. It happened almost a year later. I was leaving a conference in downtown Chicago when I saw him, Marcus Hale. Thinner. Older. Standing alone near the hotel lobby, clutching a worn briefcase. For a moment I froze. He noticed me instantly. His expression flickered, shame, anger, maybe both. Sarai, he said, forcing a smile. You look different. I am, I said quietly. He gave a dry laugh. Congratulations, by the way. You must feel proud. You ruined me. I took a slow breath. You ruined yourself. He frowned. You always had that moral superiority, didn't you? You think you're better than everyone. No, I said. I just learned to stop letting people like you define my worth. He looked down, his voice lowering. They all left me. Investors, friends, my wife, everyone. For the first time I saw something in his eyes, regret. Real or not, I couldn't tell. I lost everything, he said. You could have just taken the pay cut and stayed quiet. I stared at him. And lived a smaller life to protect a man who didn't deserve it. He didn't answer. The silence between us was heavy. Two people bound by a story of betrayal and truth. Finally, I said softly, you once told me I'd regret walking away. But I didn't lose anything that day. You did. He looked up, tears gathering in his eyes. So this is it. You win. I shook my head. No, Marcus. I just stopped playing your game. I turned to leave, but he said one last thing. Do you ever forgive me? Paused at the door. Maybe someday, I said. But forgiveness isn't for you. It's for me. As I walked away, the weight I'd carried for years finally lifted. He'd taken my job, my security, my peace. But in losing it all, I'd found something better. Freedom. A few months after that encounter with Marcus, the final court decision arrived. I sat at my kitchen table, the envelope trembling in my hands. I took a deep breath and opened it. The court finds Marcus Hale guilty of corporate fraud, embezzlement, and unlawful employee retaliation. The words blurred through my tears. 14 years of hard work, betrayal, humiliation. It all came full circle in one paragraph of truth. Marcus Hale was sentenced to 5 years in federal prison and barred from holding any corporate position again. I leaned back in my chair, letting the air finally fill my lungs. It wasn't celebration I felt, it was relief. Quiet, long overdue relief. My phone buzzed, a message from Luis. We did it, boss. Smiled. No, I texted back. We survived it. That evening, I walked past the old building where I had worked for so many years. It was different now. New management, new faces. But when I looked up at the office windows, I could still picture my old desk, my coffee mug, my dreams. For a moment, sadness crept in. Then I realized, I didn't belong there anymore. I'd outgrown it. At home, I pulled out a box I'd kept hidden under my bed. Inside were memories from my years at Hale Group. ID cards, awards, old photos from company parties. On top was the resignation letter I'd written that day. I reread it slowly. Sometimes walking away isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Smiled. Back then those words were a defense. Now they were a truth. A week later, the local business journal published a feature titled, The Woman Who Took Down Hale Group. Rachel called laughing. Looks like you're famous. I'd rather be free than famous, I told her. She said, then you've already won. And she was right. Because victory isn't about revenge. It's about reclaiming yourself after someone tries to break you. And in that moment, sitting in my tiny kitchen with sunlight spilling across the table, I realized, I was whole again. A year later, I was standing on a stage again. But this time it wasn't at a company meeting. It was at a leadership conference in New York. The screen behind me displayed one line in bold. Integrity is not negotiable. As I spoke, I could see hundreds of faces listening. Young professionals, women, dreamers. People who reminded me of who I used to be. I told them my story. Not the version that made headlines, but the real one. About fear, doubt, nights crying on my apartment floor wondering if I'd made the biggest mistake of my life. And then, about the morning I woke up and realized it wasn't a mistake. It was a beginning. When I finished, the crowd stood. For a moment I couldn't speak. Not because of pride but because I felt peace. The kind that doesn't shout. The kind that simply is. Afterward, a young woman came up to me. She looked nervous. Ms. Torres, she said. I was offered a restructure last month like you were. I was scared to say no. But after hearing you, I think I will. I smiled, touching her shoulder. Good, I said. Never let anyone discount your worth. You earned it. Every dollar, every moment. That night, I walked back to my hotel room overlooking the city. The skyline glittered like a reminder. Some lights burn out, others keep shining. I opened my journal and wrote one final line beneath the words I'd once written years ago. Sometimes walking away isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Below it, I added. And sometimes losing everything is the only way to gain yourself. I closed the notebook and smiled. The woman who once begged for recognition no longer needed it. Because I had built something far stronger than a career. I had built me. If you've ever been undervalued, betrayed, or told to take less, remember, your worth isn't up for negotiation. Comment your story below, and share this with someone who needs courage to walk away. Like, subscribe, and never forget. Loyalty should never cost your self-respect.